We are live, motherfucker. And
we
your
never
mom.
Left. Like we never left, man.
Oh, been too fucking long though. This oh man, shout out to Eddie for bringing the Corona Extra.
Had to start off right,
dude. Smells like those house parties I went to when I was a kid.
It almost, yeah. I can see, yeah. I can resemble with you on that.
Tip touch that motherfucker. Oh. And just like that, we are back. Another episode of the Tip Touch. Today in the building, we got Eduardo Garcia, also known as Magpack on Mixer, bitches.
Woo! Add me, follow me, the whole shebang.
Hell yeah, I just started following him. Fucking grown man watching another grown man play video games. God damn. Hashtag big kid with money.
Gotta keep that right.
Oh, shit. But we were just starting right before we were recording. You were telling me about Dr. Sebi, and you were telling, I don't know, anything about that. First, we started talking about breathing techniques and all that shit. I don't know if you want to talk about that's some crazy shit.
The breathing techniques, I think I'll have to look into more just to know the whole background of the guy that, knows how to control his body temperature, which is just mind-blowing, just alone.
What was his name?
I forgot his name, to be honest.
Hey, Jamie, can you look that up? Oh, shit, wrong show.
We can't afford one yet.
I'll look it up.
I guess I'll look it up.
Let's see, what would it be under? Guy that can hold his breath the longest. Michael Phelps?
No.
Who's that? No.
Isn't like an 8-time gold medalist or something like that? That guy's, he's a freak athlete too, man.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
We were joking about swimming one day and about how the swimmers, I don't know now, like I hear that they like do the Brazilian wax to kind of keep their bodies super smooth, because apparently like way back in the day when I was in high school, we had this guy that was in swimming on the swimming team, and he shaved his legs. It was
supposed
a thing.
To make you run faster or something like that. That's the big myth.
Like the hair was holding him down.
Yeah. I've heard of that too.
Yeah, but later we found out he was gay. But
there might have been a link to that, maybe. You got your mind running.
Actually, he was a rapper we might have all heard of.
That's gonna be interesting.
But no. Anyway, and so then I heard that now they're like doing Brazilian waxes. Like,
I never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be just me pulling that out of my ass, but I heard it. I did hear it.
I'll have to look that up. That'll be something I have to Google tonight.
We need to get a Jamie in here.
Right? Like I said, we'll get a Jose or something. Just have him sit there. Hey. Home Depot, baby.
Oh, God. Oh, dude, we need to cruise the streets.
$20 per episode. How does that sound?
That's where Dad picked me up, bro. Pushing carts one day. He thought I was there to work. Like, no, man, I work here. Chill.
But again, on the topic of Dr. Sebi, which this guy brought up because of
get closer to that mic, sexy.
Sorry. Okay. So Dr. Sebi, right? The whole thing kind of got. I've heard about him before. And pretty much what he was an herbalist, meaning he only believed in curing diseases using herbs, from the earth. And I was just reading a little bit ago right now, in 1988, he challenged the Medical Association that AIDS was curable. And he presented all the facts and from
curable with natural herbs.
And he proved his point, and it was right. But for some reason, it's just one of those things where they left off at that. He proved himself, but nothing was made of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, think about it. Big pharma, or just pharma in general, it's a huge business. So it would definitely just, cut them, like if that were the case. So now there's comparisons linking it back to Nipsey Hussle. Again, rest in peace. We ultimately lost, in my eyes, in my personal opinion, to this gentleman right here. He was up there in a sense of where he was doing more than just music. He was getting involved in his community, trying to steer the youth, away from all the negativity and all that, which is just really prominent in my eyes because, back in that time, a lot of people looked at him they looked at Tupac, right?
Yeah, we're looking at, for anybody just listening, we're talking about Tupac. We got a picture of Tupac with I got the vinyl album, and just with the Tupac All Eyes on Me album with the disc out. And anyway, yeah, he made a tremendous impact on the industry and on the world.
And I feel like that's kind of where when this happened, I felt almost like it resembled so much to how it felt when we lost Pac.
Yeah.
And you can just see the people that it really affected, and like just in the rap community, and just from like all over the world.
Even outside of the rap community, that's the whole thing with Tupac. Like, man, he affected even white kids from the suburbs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was just so universal to where, like, just the fact that he was kind of touching bases more outside of music, like really dealing with stuff like within his community, and try to do like touch bases on everything almost, and just the mindset and just how he kind of carried himself, and just it was just crazy. And I was telling you earlier, one of my biggest regrets, honestly, that I could say, I actually had a chance to go to one of his concerts. Like, it was years
Tupac?
ago. No.
Oh, Nipsey.
No, Nipsey.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Nipsey right now. I had a chance to go to one of his concerts. I didn't go though. But now thinking about it now, after everything happened, I was just more like, it's generally one of my biggest regrets.
No,
only because like I could have said that, man, I saw that guy in concert, and I wanted to see be in that type of energy to see him, perform all his songs, live. So,
what do you know about Nipsey? Because I was just telling you, I'd never really heard from him. I kind of stopped listening to hip hop, a lot of hip hop, in around the 2006, 2007. That's when I kind of, when I had my daughter, and I just it had hit the hip hop from what I'd seen. Like when I was leaving, Lil Jon was on the top. There was all these rappers that were just not really doing what Pac was doing, not really doing like. You could see that the mainstream had kind of taken over, and the culture had sort of changed for the worst. And it wasn't like, it was a lot of just hoes, drugs, all the shit. Money. And I'm like,
just the basic
man,
stuff, right?
I'm the shit that anybody can say and make $1 million on. And it's a shame that that we don't really have that depth. But in the meantime, I've missed a lot of key artists like Nipsey Hussle, Kendrick Lamar. Yeah. There's a lot of music that I've missed that I really want to get back into.
Yeah, so I'll say this just from the reasons. Like, I already named a few reasons why he kind of stood out, and I kind of just felt like we truly lost someone so prominent. Was because like there was an early interview that it was kind of like one of the highlight interviews he had was they were talking about like, oh, where do you see yourself in a couple years, or what do you want to accomplish in the game, this and that. And he was pretty much talking in terms like, what, man, it's like I really want to get some assets, houses, and be involved in just creating something for my community to get us out of this situation we're in right now, like in the hood and all that. He was just talking so much different aside from everybody else. I felt like at that time was just going with the wave of just like, like you said, just, get a good amount of money, enjoying life, which you should and all that, but just in a more like tunnel vision.
It was mature, right? Yeah. That's like a mature mindset.
Yeah, his mindset was just in a different realm. I'm like, man, and honestly, the only close person that I can say he can resemble to is this man right here. And that's
what about Kendrick though?
Kendrick's the same way. I feel like I really never, just saying for me on my own personal just opinion, I haven't really heard too much of him like how do you say, be involved in the hood, trying to like actually make moves to get younger kids out of the hood. Okay. He might behind closed doors. I mean, I don't know, like I said, but Nipsey kind of was more out there with it. You know what I'm saying? And it was just more, I guess it was just more exposed than what Kendrick is. And I'm sure, and I'll say this, Kendrick probably is doing stuff like that, but we don't know of it. As like I said, I don't know much of it.
Yeah, it's just not out there. Like, like Tupac, I remember what was so sad, I should say, about him is like all that we ever heard of Pac was what was in the source, what was in Vibe, what was in, the media, what was on MTV.
Yeah.
And, all these people, these media people they just want to sell advertisements, right? They just wanted subscribers, they wanted readers, they wanted viewers. And so the way to get that is to stir up controversy. So, at his peak, they were feeding this West Coast East Coast rivalry, and of course, it's been 23 years, and we've been talking about it for that long. But imagine that 23 years, and we're still talking about that.
It was, I guess,
this day.
It was one of those eras where it, like in hip hop in general, it had to be one of those just points in that timeline where, again, we lost a pioneer. We lost two pioneers in that time. It was Big and him. It's sad because, like you said, all negativity and drama is what sells.
Right, and I remember, like when he was in jail, he was doing an interview, and he was talking about the stuff he wanted to do. Like he was talking about getting kids from the hood playing football together, and then the dads would be in the picture because he knew the dads weren't in the picture. And so he says, no, the dads are going to be there. They're going to be running security. We're going to get the church involved. The churches are going to come over. They're going to cook, and he's just had all these visions of unity and bringing people together. And and the irony in that is he died through the same cycle. Of violence that so many young black males are to this day still dying from. Like, he could have been, like, he was that spark. If anything does change, we're still talking about him to this day. Yeah. And we just need people to rise up, and we really need people like you've been giving me a lot of interviews lately with Dame Dash. Yeah. And like the one thing that Tupac, Nipsey Hussle, Damon Dash all have in common is they are the ones going in the opposite direction from where the industry is seeming to take everybody. Yeah. The industry is saying, hey, we got to spend as much money as we can. Well, what is spending money going to get you? Yeah. It's going to get you broke. It's what all these young people that make a ton of money real quick learn right away when they lose that money. Yeah. And then they're like, I was just reading about Too Short. Too Short lost everything. I don't know how he's doing right now, but this article I was reading, he was bankrupt, had nothing. And it was like, dude, you've been around for a minute.
Yeah. He's an OG in the game, dude.
OG, yeah. and he's gone. He's penniless. He's like MC Hammer penniless. Probably
do a little better than MC, but I feel like
I don't know, but and it's like, but you've had so many examples in front of you. What's going on? So when people like Damon Dash now, I mean, I'm talking about the people living now, when they can stand up and go against the grain in a positive way and fight for that culture, because we do have to keep fighting forward.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things that I feel like, in my opinion, I guess you could say, it's that the industry is like a never-ending cycle, right? I feel like people don't want to break it, or they're afraid to go on their own and try to break it and go up against it. It's like you're going against this mega machine, and here you are, little you trying to, make something out of nothing. And I feel like, it's so much hard work, but what's going to be the best outcome for this is the fact that you built this from the ground up with your own hands, and you can actually say you've made somewhat of a legacy going forward that nobody helped me. There was no handouts. I did it myself. Yeah. And that's one of the things where, like, these dudes are highly respected. Like, for Dame, he started Rockefeller, didn't agree with some things that was going on behind closed doors, which we don't know. And he's still relevant to this day. Yeah. That itself says a lot of,
he's been amazing. Like, I saw Sean Puffy Combs do it, where he went into other industries. I saw Jay-Z do it. He went into other industries. Dame Dash, who else? I know there's some other rappers that are they're doing that thing where they know that music, like, Dame Dash was saying it. It's a young man's game. It's a young man's game. Yeah. And so if you don't get your money right and figure out what your next, you've got to be thinking about, all of us, anybody even listening to this podcast. If you're not thinking 5 years down the road, you're fucking up.
Yeah, because
what are you doing 5 years from now?
In all reality, man, it's kind of having like a plan B, C, and D, because it's like you never know. You always want to at least, like, obviously there's some things that out of your control, and it's life. We get that, but at the same time, you want to kind of have the hamster wheel spinning a little bit, so you can know, like, all right, I have some experience in this, I can do this, or all right, I think I can do this, I'll go do that. Yeah. So you want to be able to just, be able to make moves at the same time when, shit hits the fan, unfortunately. So in a sense, you're right. Referring back to Dame saying that rap now is a young man's game. These young cats in the game now should think about that. And like, I'm not gonna be rapping forever.
Mm-hmm.
I need to invest my money that I'm making now and make some moves, open businesses, invest in something. That's like the logical mindset. I feel like I said, in my opinion, these guys should have, and that is a good point. That is a good point. And there's only a few from that era, like to say, like I said, Dame back in that era, he stayed relevant and made moves, and he's still here to this day making moves. That's like I feel that's a highly prime example.